Hi, and welcome. You're listening to the X22 Report. My name is Dave, and this is episode 1657B, and today's date is September 6th, 2018, and the title of the episode is, We Knew This Day Would Come, Conspiracy No More, Protective Measures Are in Place. Let's get into the economic collapse, political, and geopolitical news. Now, it looks like the plan is a go, and we've been seeing from Trump and the Patriots. Trump has been tweeting out like crazy, preparing America that there is a huge amount of corruption, treason, traitors within government. And he's continually tweeting out, and he even tweeted out the word treason. We'll get into that in just a few minutes. But we can see that all of this is being done on purpose. It's laying the groundwork to get people used to the idea of what is happening. Now, a lot of people don't go over to read his tweets, but the news does pick up his tweets every so often. They get out there. The alternative media is reporting on it. And a lot of people realize or hear it, but can't put all the connections together. But it's in their subconscious. And we know that they're trying to get Kavanaugh into position for all of this. Now, of course, today we see Booker, who was threatening that he has all these emails from Kavanaugh. And he said, listen, hey, I know the penalties of this. I know if I release this, I'll lose my spot in the Senate because it's completely illegal. So basically he released it. 12 pages of confidential emails related to Kavanaugh. And one of the email threads is racial profiling. Now, of course, when you look at the emails, it has nothing to do with what Booker was talking about. Actually, it is the opposite of what Booker was talking about. He's not a racist. And we can see that once again, this is a complete and utter dud. They don't show Kavanaugh cheerleading racist tactics. Quite the opposite. The memo showed the judge opposed using race or national origin for both basic law enforcement and airport security screening following the 9/11 attacks. So what Booker was doing was ridiculous. Now he must give up his seat on the Senate, I guess. I guess he has to be removed because he did something illegal. But what's very interesting about all of this is that post 1015, Q put up example, Gateway Bridge Project, 1.8 million Cory Booker, Singapore. 3.5 million Chuck Schumer, Israel. 400,000 Chris Christie. Omnibus bill, the gift that keeps on giving. Now, what this looks like is that Booker was taking money, just like everyone else. And there's also reports that he was taking bribes and other things. And I remember Q saying, those who scream the loudest have a lot to lose. Look at Maxine Waters, look at Booker, look at the rest of them. And we can see everything that's trying to do, it is not working. Judicial Watch, well, they revealed that Strzok authored the initial draft of Comey's letter to Congress about Clinton's emails on Weiner's laptop. So they released 424 pages of FBI records, including an email revealing that the recently fired FBI official Peter Strzok created the initial draft of the October 2016 letter. Then FBI Director James Comey sent to Congress notifying lawmakers of the discovery of Hillary Clinton emails on the laptop of Congressman Anthony Weiner. Another email suggests that the FBI had not yet completed its review of Clinton's emails by the time Comey sent a second letter to Congress on November 6, 2016, reconfirming his belief that Hillary Clinton shouldn't be charged with a crime. The documents reveal that on October 27, 2016, Peter Strzok emailed other senior FBI officials a draft notice letter from Comey to Congress about the Weiner laptop discovery and the reopening of the Clinton investigation. The emails indicated that Strzok and another official, John, last name unknown, authored the notification to Congress. I mean, think about what is happening here. As Judicial Watch, as the investigators go deeper and deeper into all of this, the truth is coming out of how they orchestrated all of this. Now, Wired Sources is reporting that Rod Rosenstein is under investigation right now. No longer has authority to sign FISA applications. So we see at this point that Rod Rosenstein, well, he has his own problems. He's all lumped in to everyone else. And all these people are going to have problems. And we'll get into that in a little bit later. But first, I wanted to go into what is happening with the UK with Novichok, where we know the Skripals were poisoned. And on September 5th, the UK released images of the people allegedly responsible for the Novichok poisoning of Sergei Skripal and his daughter Yulia. Now, what's very interesting about this, they're saying they're two Russian agents. And they're saying that they arrived at Gatwick Airport, having flown from Moscow on Aeroflot flight SU-2588 on March 2nd, and then returned to Moscow on Aeroflot flight SU-2585 on March 4th. And they name both of them. It's Alexander Petrov and Rushan Borsharov. These are the two individuals. And they even show two pictures of them coming off or on the plane. And the problem is that they're in the same hallway. They're exactly the same. And they have a date and timestamp. So it's February 3rd, 2018. And the first timestamp is 16/22/43 for the first individual. And the second timestamp is 16/22/43 for the second individual. They both have the same timestamp walking down the same hallway with two separate pictures. How is that possible? It can't be. They'd be walking together, but you don't see any of them in these pictures. They're nowhere to be found. So something's wrong, and it looks like what they did was they took the dates and they put them on the pictures to make it fit their story. This whole thing is one gigantic false flag, and they're trying to figure out a way around this, and they keep getting caught. It's amazing. We see out in North Korea, the North Korean leader, Kim Jong-un, expresses unwavering faith in President Trump. And he says he's going to denuclearize. He gives a timeline that he's going to do it in the first term of Trump's presidency. And we see that the North Korean leader also handed a South Korean national security advisor a personal message for President Trump. And this is how they trade messages. So the deep state can't figure out what is going on here. Trump is old school. He doesn't use email. So we see right now that they have no clue what is going on, and Trump tweeted out, Kim Jong-un of North Korea proclaims unwavering faith in President Trump. Thank you to Chairman Kim. We will get it done together. They already have an understanding. They already know what is going on. And they're playing with the deep state. They're playing with the mainstream media. Now, Trump also tweeted out, the deep state and the left and their vehicle, the fake news media, are going crazy, and they don't know what to do. The economy is booming like never before. Jobs are at historic highs. Soon, 2 Supreme Court justices and maybe declassification to find additional corruption. Wow. He tweeted again, I'm draining the swamp, and the swamp is trying to fight back. Don't worry, we will win. Now, we talked about how the deep state is going to fight back any way they possibly can. And we knew that they were going to put something out there. And there's going to be a lot more coming. This is just the beginning. Yesterday, we mentioned this New York Times article where an anonymous individual wrote an op-ed about how Trump is crazy, how there's people inside his administration that are against him, and they call themselves the resistance. They're part of the resistance. Now, they're doing this on purpose to make everyone believe that there's people within the administration that are going against Trump. And we know what this is. This is the deep state. They just created something called the resistance. And they're trying to make people think that people are trying to fight him in the inside. Trump has full control. The Patriots have full control of what is going on there. And Trump came out and said, this is a national security problem here, and we need to know your source. It's anonymous. We need to know who it is, because this is a national security breach. And basically what he's doing is just using what all the other deep state individuals always said. with any time there's a leak or anything like that, well, it's national security. We need to know who it is. So, who is the resistance? It is the deep state who is resisting everything Trump is doing. What is he doing? He's taking them down. Let's move into Q's post. This is post 2093. Q puts up a link to YouTube, and this is Lindsey Graham asking Brett Kavanaugh some questions. Q says in bold 26 minutes, then says interesting line of questions, normal, military law versus criminal law. Think executive order. Think Clinton panic. Do you believe in coincidences? You have more than you know. Take a listen to Lindsey Graham and Brett Kavanaugh.
The two buildings, when the buildings fell.
So when somebody says post 9/11 that we've been at war and it's called the war on terrorism, do you generally agree with that concept?
I do, Senator, because Congress passed the authorization for use of military force, which is still in effect. And that was passed, of course, on September 14th, 2001, 3 days later.
Let's talk about the law in war. Is there a body of law called the law of armed conflict?
There is such a body, Senator.
Is there a body of law that's called basic criminal law?
Yes, Senator.
Are there differences between those two bodies of law?
Yes, Senator.
From an American citizen's point of view, do your constitutional rights follow you? If you're in Paris, does the Fourth Amendment protect you as an American from your own government?
From your own government, yes.
Okay. So if you're in Afghanistan, do your constitutional rights protect you against your own government?
If you're an American in Afghanistan, you have constitutional rights as against the U.S. government.
Is there a long-standing...
That's long-settled law.
Isn't there also a long-settled law that it goes back to the Eisentrager case? I can't remember the name of it.
Yeah, Johnson versus Eisentrager.
Right. That American citizens who collaborate with the enemy have considered enemy combatants.
They can be. They can be. They're sometimes criminally prosecuted, sometimes treated in the military.
Well, let's talk about can be. I think
under Supreme Court precedent.
Right.
Yeah.
There's a Supreme Court decision that said that American citizens who collaborated with Nazi saboteurs were tried by the military. Is that correct?
That is correct.
I think a couple of them were executed.
Yeah.
So if anybody doubts, there's a long-standing history in this country that your constitutional rights follow you wherever you go, but you don't have a constitutional right to turn on your own government, collaborate with the enemy of the nation. You'll be treated differently. What's the name of the case, if you can recall, that reaffirmed the concept that you could hold one of our own as an enemy combatant if they were engaged in terrorist activities in Afghanistan? Are you familiar with that case?
Yeah, Hamdi.
Okay. So the bottom line is, I want every American citizen to know you have constitutional rights, but you do not have a constitutional right to collaborate with the enemy. There's a body of law well developed long before 9/11 that understood the difference between basic criminal law and the law of armed conflict. Do you understand those differences?
I do understand that they're different bodies of law, of course, Senator.
Okay, if you're confirmed, and I believe you will be, what is your hope when all of this is said and done and your time is up? How would you like to be remembered?
A good dad, good judge,
good husband.
I think he's getting there.
good husband.
Thanks, Diane. You helped him a lot. It's going to be better for you tonight.
Good.
As you can see, they're talking about military law versus criminal law. Wanted to know if Kavanaugh was familiar with this, with a court case, Hamdi versus Rumsfeld. This was in 2004. Let me just read it to you. It is a United States Supreme Court case in which the court recognized the power of the U.S. government to detain enemy combatants, including U.S. citizens, but ruled that detainees who are U.S. citizens must have the rights of due process and the ability to challenge their enemy combatant status before an impartial authority. So, and Annan kind of summed it up this way. He's laying the foundation of his argument. If acts of treason are discovered, the president is in his power to use the military to bring swift justice. D-class might prove treason, so this might get really crazy very fast. This is really key. As stated above, if someone is considered an enemy combatant, then they don't have constitutional rights. That includes the Fourth Amendment, the one about reasonable searches and seizures. Now, evidence collected by the NSA is not admissible in court because it is collected in a way that violates our Fourth Amendment rights. However, if tried in as an enemy combatant, the Fourth Amendment is not extended to the defendants, thereby allowing the NSA collected evidence to be admissible in court. Let's move on to post 2094. We see that Q puts up a link to Trump's Twitter feed, and it says treason ? Now, we need to think mirror here. And what Trump is doing right now is he's putting out the word treason, and all the trolls are saying that, Trump, you're treasonous, and they're reciting the U.S. Code. And I think he wanted them to do this. And the U.S. Code, 18 U.S.C. Section 2381, whoever owing allegiance to the United States levies war against them or adheres to their enemies, giving them aid and comfort within the United States or elsewhere, is guilty of treason. And many people are trolling Trump and they're calling him treasonous, and they keep reciting it. But we need to think mirror. Then Q came back and posted 2095 and put up American flag and put up patriot and traitor and gave us the definition. Patriot, a person who loves, supports, and defends his or her country and its interests with devotion. A person who regards himself or herself as a defender, especially of individual rights, against presumed interference by the federal government. A traitor, a person who betrays another, a cause, or any trust. A person who commits treason by betraying his or her country. Q went on to say, fellow patriots, what you are about to learn should not only scare you, but intensify your resolve to take back control. Brackets bold, freedom. The information that will become public will further demonstrate the criminal and corrupt, pure evil, brackets bold, abuse of power that the Hussein administration undertook in joint efforts with domestic and foreign dignitaries. The snowball has begun rolling. There's no stopping it now. D5, which is D is the number 4. Then we have 5, 45, Trump. Stay the course and trust the plan. Protective measures are in place. Remain brave. We knew this day would come. Put up a YouTube link. This YouTube link is something that I'll play at the end of this report. You've seen it before, but I'm going to play it once again. And if you want to listen to it, it's Trump's speech about draining the swamp. Under it, it says, United we stand, worldwide. Where we go one, we go all. We fight conspiracy no more. So it looks like they're going to let the news out. They know the deep state is going to do something. And we'll talk about that in just a minute because they said protective measures are in place. Remain brave. So they're getting prepared and they're preparing everyone for this. And hopefully they've taken a lot of protective measures because I think the deep state's going to go all out when the news hits. And they might not happen right away, but I think as more information comes out, they're going to do something that's really big. And this is why we go back to Q's post about retaliation horizon, which is Silent Horizon, which I believe this is what it is, where CIA had drills about hidden different infrastructures within the United States with cyber attacks where they can bring down the power, they can shut down the banking system. I mean, think about disrupting the entire system, disrupting the news, disrupting everything, letting these individuals try to escape. Think about what's happening here. Post 2096, and Anon put up, prosecutors use grand jury as investigation of Andrew McCabe intensifies. Federal prosecutors have for months been using a grand jury to investigate former FBI Director Andrew McCabe, an indication the probe into whether he misled officials exploring his role in a controversial media disclosure has intensified. Two people familiar with the matter said the grand jury has summoned more than one witness, the people said, and the case is ongoing. The people declined to identify those who had been called to testify. The presence of the grand jury shows prosecutors are treating the matter seriously, locking in the accounts of witnesses who might later have to testify at a trial. But such panels are sometimes used only as investigative tools, and it remains unclear if McCabe will ultimately be charged. A spokesman for the U.S. Attorney's Office in D.C., which has been handling the probe, declined to comment, as did a spokeswoman for McCabe. This is coming out of the Washington Post. Q says, read between the lines, March 22nd, gave a link to Fox News. Goodlatte subpoenas Department of Justice for documents related to Clinton email probe FISA abuses. Q says, we are individually reviewing the remaining documents to ensure that they do not include grand jury information about ongoing law enforcement actions involving American citizens, or privileged attorney-client communications, Pryor said. Per today, federal prosecutors have for months been using a grand jury. And Q says, you didn't think nothing was happening, did you? Q. So everything is moving forward, and then Q posts 2097. 1 billion coincidences. Enjoy the show tonight. Now, Q put up one more post today, and this is post number 2098. And an Anon put up a phone, and it's from Breaking 911, and it says, heads up, nationwide emergency alert system test planned. So what does that mean? Well, one Anon kind of summed it up. My fellow Americans, over the course of the next several days, you will undoubtedly realize that we are taking back our great country, the land of the free, from the evil tyrants that wish to do us harm and destroy the last remaining refuge of shining light. On POTUS's order, we have initiated certain fail-safes that shall safeguard the public from the primary fallout, which is slated to occur 11.3 upon the arrest announcement of Mr. Podesta. Actionable 11.4. Confirmation to the public of what is occurring will then be revealed and will not be openly accepted. Public riots are being organized in serious numbers in an effort to prevent the arrest and capture of more senior public officials. On POTUS's order, a state of temporary military control will be actioned and special ops carried out. False leaks have been made to retain several within the confines of the United States to prevent extradition and special operator necessity. Rest assured, the safety and well-being of every man and woman and child of this country is being exhausted in full. However, the atmosphere within the country will unfortunately be divided, as so many have fallen for the corrupt and evil narrative that has long been broadcast. We will be initiating the emergency broadcast EMS during this time in an effort to provide a direct message avoiding the fake news to all citizens. Organizations and or people that wish to do us harm during this time will be met with swift fury. Certain laws have been pre-lifted to provide our great military the necessary authority to handle and conduct these operations at home and abroad. So what we're seeing right now, we're seeing that everything is prepped. Now, we've been talking about getting prepared for an economic collapse, riots, and we see that we're at this point. Now, when this news hits, a lot of people are going to reject. A lot of people are going to say, this is not true. Once they start to learn that it is true, once they see people getting arrested, once their world starts to fall apart, well, they're going to fall apart. Now, the deep state is not going to sit back, and we mentioned this. They are going to try to do something. They're going to retaliate any way they possibly can. They might even bring down power in certain areas. I mean, we saw the East Coast back in 2003, where they brought down the whole East Coast. They do have the ability to do this. Yes, I'm sure there's safeguards that have been put into place, but again, we know that they have malware and other things already embedded because they were planning on another event because they didn't think Trump was going to win. They thought Clinton was going to be in office, and they were going to use this to bring us to war. Now they're going to use this to push their agenda. And we can see with Antifa and the rest, most likely they have paid individuals ready to start riots in many different cities. And this is why it looks like they're going to use the emergency alert system to give you the real information. Because most likely a lot of the social media platforms might be disrupted because they don't want that news getting out. The mainstream media, you know what they're going to be reporting on? Something completely different. Or they're going to be reporting how they're coming after Trump, making everyone think that's really what's happening. So we're headed down this path where things are going to get really, really bad very, very quickly. Now, when the news first comes out, they're going to reject. The mainstream media most likely is going to try to ignore this or spin it in a different way. We might even see a small event to clutter the news cycle. But as more information comes out, I think it's going to get worse and worse. And this might lead the economy into imploding on itself. Because once bad news like this comes out, I mean, we think it's good news. Other people think it's bad news. People around the world, wow, look at all the corruption. Look at the traitors in the United States. All of a sudden, things start to fall apart. The wealthy, they're out of here. The market comes down. The entire system implodes. And already Trump has his narrative. His economy was doing well. The news came out. The economy came down. Now we have maybe riots in the street. Maybe they're isolated. Maybe they can control them. But we can see we're headed towards this period of time. And I don't believe this is going to be months. I think this is going to be in a couple of days or in a couple of weeks. And we can see that they're really getting prepared for this. Maybe even this weekend. We don't know. It doesn't matter the exact time. What matters is that you're prepared and ready for this. Q is letting you know that this is going to happen, showing you that they're going to be using the nationwide emergency alert system, that they're planning to use this to spread news, to let you know what's going on. So all I can say at this point, if you haven't prepared, if you haven't gotten ready, if you don't have a way to protect yourself because you don't know what this picture is going to look like, if you haven't gotten some cash out, if you haven't purchased gold or silver, or you just have water, food, and whatever you need so you don't have to go out, just in case, because we don't know how the general public is going to handle this. And like I said, I don't think it's going to happen when the news drops right off the bat. I think it's going to build over time. Because as more and more information comes out, well, the people know it's only a matter of time because before they're picked up. And how you avoid being picked up? Well, you cause confusion. You have an event. Maybe you hit a power infrastructure. Maybe you bring down the power of the East Coast. Maybe you shut down the banking systems. Maybe you have a physical event to keep everyone busy. You can see they're prepared for this. They know that this was coming. They knew for a very long time. They've been fighting against it. And Trump and the Patriots, the military, they've been planning for this for a very long time. Like they said, they put protective measures in place. But again, it's going to get a little crazy before it gets better. So whatever you're doing, get prepared, get ready for this. And here is the video of Trump telling you that he's going to drain the swamp. Listen, everyone, thanks a lot for listening. Be well, be safe, and especially be prepared.
Our movement is about replacing a failed and corrupt political establishment with a new government controlled by you, the American people. The Washington establishment and the financial and media corporations that fund it exist for only one reason: to protect and enrich itself. The establishment has trillions of dollars at stake in this election. For those who control the levers of power in Washington and for the global special interest, they partner with these people that don't have your good in mind. Our campaign represents a true existential threat like they haven't seen before. This is not simply another four-year election. This is a crossroads in the history of our civilization. that will determine whether or not we, the people, reclaim control over our government. The political establishment that is trying to stop us is the same group responsible for our disastrous trade deals, massive illegal immigration, and economic and foreign policies that have bled our country dry. The political establishment has brought about the destruction of our factories and our jobs as they flee to Mexico, China, and other countries all around the world. It's a global power structure that is responsible for the economic decisions that have robbed our working class, stripped our country of its wealth, and put that money into the pockets of a handful of large corporations and political entities. This is a struggle for the survival of our nation, and this will be our last chance to save it. This election will determine whether we're a free nation or whether we have only the illusion of democracy, but are in fact controlled by a small handful of global special interests rigging the system, and our system is rigged. This is reality. You know it, they know it, I know it, and pretty much the whole world knows it. The Clinton machine is at the center of this power structure. We've seen this firsthand in the WikiLeaks documents, in which Hillary Clinton meets in secret with international banks to plot the destruction of U.S. sovereignty in order to enrich these global financial powers, her special interest friends, and her donors. Honestly, she should be locked up. The most powerful weapon deployed by the Clintons is the corporate media, the press. Let's be clear on one thing. The corporate media in our country is no longer involved in journalism. They're a political special interest, no different than any lobbyist or other financial entity with a total political agenda, and the agenda is not for you, it's for themselves. Anyone who challenges their control is deemed a sexist, a racist, a xenophobe. They will lie, and then again, they will do worse than that. They will do whatever is necessary. The Clintons are criminals, remember that. This is well documented, and the establishment that protects them has engaged in a massive cover-up of widespread criminal activity at the State Department and the Clinton Foundation in order to keep the Clintons in power. They knew they would throw every lie they could at me and my family and my loved ones. They knew they would stop at nothing to try to stop me. Nevertheless, I take all of these slings and arrows gladly for you. I take them for our movement so that we can have our country back. I knew this day would arrive. It's only a question of when. And I knew the American people would rise above it and vote for the future they deserve. The only thing that can stop this corrupt machine is you. The only force strong enough to save our country is us. The only people brave enough to vote out this corrupt establishment is you, the American people. Our great civilization has come upon a moment of reckoning. I didn't need to do this, folks, believe me. I built a great company, and I had a wonderful life. I could have enjoyed the fruits and benefit of years of successful business deals and businesses for myself and my family, instead of going through this absolute horror show of lies, deceptions, malicious attacks. Who would have thought? I'm doing it because this country has given me so much, and I feel so strongly that it's my turn to give back to the country that I love. I'm doing this for the people and for the movement, and we will take back this country for you, and we will make America great again.